Hello everybody, I am Shepples and welcome to my review for Clive Barker's Undying. Undying is a first-person shooter horror game released in 2001, which the story has been written by the one and only Clive Barker. For those of you who may not be familiar with the name of Barker, he is the creator of movies like Hellraiser 1, 2 and 3 and has written books such as Book of the Dead, along with another game which was released years later called Clive Barker's Jericho. The game takes place on an estate on an island off the coast of Ireland in 1913, which belongs to the Covenant family, where Jeremiah, who was once your commanding officer in war, calls you to help him with a situation he has found himself in. Upon arriving, you, Patrick Galloway, demonologist, must help Jeremiah unravel the secrets of the Covenant estate and end the curse that has plagued the Covenant family for over 20 years, once and for all. Throughout the game you get a decent selection of weapons and magic which you can use, taking a Bioshock approach of being able to wield a weapon in one hand and magic in the other. However, this game was made long before Bioshock was ever released. It isn't just the fact that you can wield both a weapon and magic at the same time that makes it so enjoyable, but the fact that it works so damn well. And with practice you can really dish out some serious and satisfying damage when firing spells and your gun at the same time. Weapons include your trusty 6-shot revolver, double-barrel shotgun, spear gun, the size of the Celt, and others, along with a variation of magic which includes ectoplasm, screaming skulls, shield, dispel, and more to help you in your fight against the horrors that you will find in your travels throughout the estate. As you progress through the game, you will find purple stones known as amplifiers, which will allow you to increase the level and power of their spells of your choice. Each spell can be leveled up to a total of 4 times, giving them a level cap of 5, which is shown by stars on the icon of your equipped spell. Your revolver and shotgun also has 2 different ammunition. For the revolver you have standard bullets, and you can also find silver bullets which do substantially more damage. For the shotgun you will have standard shotgun shells and phosphorus shells which ignite upon being fired, setting enemies ablaze. The action is really fast paced and really gets the adrenaline going, and the pace between combat and exploring is nicely balanced, so you never have to wait too long before your next battle against monstrosities that are found throughout the estate. As you progress you will find areas where you'll hear a voice telling you to look, or look around, or scry. Scry is a spell that you first start off with at the beginning of the game and allows you to see or hear events from the past, along with providing you with light and the indication of how close an enemy is to dying if upgraded to a high enough level. Scrying generally provides you with events that happened within the estate and allows you to fill in the gaps of certain things throughout by seeing or hearing events that you've previously read about in a journal. The game takes a different approach to horror in comparison to your standard cheap jump scares that video games often give you in today's horror genre. Instead of actually scaring you by giving you brief heart attacks, it simply does it in a sense of unnerving the player, which is allowing your imagination to do the work for you, therefore pretty much scaring yourself at times with certain sounds. A type of horror I really enjoy as opposed to cheap scares, as it is all about atmosphere. The creatures within the games are about as gruesome and grotesque as you would expect from the imagination of Barker. So much so that it is pretty much impossible to accurately describe some of them, but I assure you, once you see them, they will stay in your memory banks for the rest of your life, as they simply are just memorable creatures, to say the least. The story of the game is brilliant and is one that will keep you gripped from start to finish and occasionally throw you a twist or two that has a tendency to take you by surprise. As you journey through the estate you will find journals, notes and letters which will fill in the history of the Covenant family, and it is always an interesting read. However, despite this game being a masterpiece, it is not without its minor flaws. For one, I found that the game gave off a false sense of being pretty long. The time it took between starting the game and killing your first boss takes quite a while, but after it is pretty much boss fight after boss fight with only a short duration of exploring, making the game pretty short in the long run. By the time you've killed your first boss, you will have already be halfway through the game, which shows just how quick it is over despite the feeling it has only just begun. I also find that the game's writing lacked slightly when it came to the Covenant family, where you would learn more about certain members than others. An example of this is that you learn quite a bit about Jeremiah's two brothers, Ambrose and Aaron, yet you know very little in the long run about the history of the two sisters, the father and the mother. I would have found it interesting to hear more about the other members of the Covenant family, as I truly knew very little about them, other than what their sole purpose was in the actual storyline. The boss fights within the game are pretty lacking in imagination, as they are simply a case of weakening the boss then decapitating them at the right time with the side of the Celt, making the boss fights not that exciting or difficult. Even the final boss is pretty boring, as all you have to do is stand in one place and keep firing in a certain sequence until the boss is dead. One final minor flaw was the lack of sense of direction that the game gave you. The game never gave you a clear path to go. Instead, you would have to search at your own will for the next route to go, while running into locked doors and doors that couldn't be opened. There was never a point that you could freely explore the Covenant Mansion, which means you just have to aimlessly find your way around the house. Overall, Clive Barker's Undying is an excellent first-person shooter experience. With a blend of fast-paced action, horror, and a great story, it is without a doubt one of my top first-person shooters of all time, and with that I would give it an 8 out of 10. For me, it loses 2 points due to the lack of directing the player, due to it slowing the game's experience of pace when you go and get somewhat lost, and for the boring and uninteresting boss fights. Nevertheless, this is a classic game that was completely and utterly missed upon the release between 2000 and 2001 due to there being so many huge title releases back then. So if you missed this gem and would like to get it, similar to what I did back in the day, you can get it on GOG now for a great price of $5.99 US. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed the video, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Thank you, and have fun.